The 1970s in America, a time of disco, Watergate, and a creeping sense of unease that something sinister lurked beneath the surface of everyday life. This unease was given a name, a face: Ted Bundy. He was the embodiment of our collective nightmare, a handsome, charming young man who shattered the illusion of safety and trust. Behind his charismatic facade hid a depraved mind, a monster who preyed on young women, subjecting them to unimaginable horrors. Ted Bundy was an American serial killer, rapist, and necrophiliac. He was active throughout the 1970s, confessing to the murders of at least 30 young women across multiple states. His crimes sent shockwaves through the nation, not just for their brutality, but also because of Bundy's chillingly normal outward appearance. He was the boy next door turned predator, a stark reminder that evil could lurk in the most unexpected places. Bundy's reign of terror began in the Pacific Northwest, where young women began disappearing with alarming regularity. Their families were left clinging to hope, unaware that their daughters had crossed paths with a monster. The authorities were baffled, struggling to connect the dots in a case that seemed to defy explanation. Little did they know that the man they sought was hiding in plain sight, concealing his true nature behind a mask of normalcy. Ted Bundy's story is a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lie beneath the surface. A stark portrait of a killer who shattered the illusion of safety and left an indelible mark on the American psyche. Ted Bundy's early life offered no obvious clues to the darkness that would consume him. He appeared to be just another child growing up in mid-20th century America. Born in Vermont in 1946, he was raised by his grandparents, believing his mother to be his sister. This unusual family dynamic was just the beginning of the secrets that would shape his life. This early deception, coupled with a possible history of family violence, may have contributed to Bundy's fractured psyche. But there were no outward signs of the monster he would become. Family gatherings and childhood photos painted a picture of normalcy. He was described as a bright and personable young man, excelling in school and displaying a talent for debate and public speaking. Teachers and peers saw him as a promising student with a bright future. However, beneath this veneer of normalcy, a sinister transformation was taking place. His charm and intelligence masked a growing darkness within. Bundy's crimes began in the early 1970s, targeting young women in Washington and Oregon. These states would become the initial hunting grounds for his horrific acts. His victims often shared similar physical characteristics: attractive, with long dark hair parted down the middle, a chilling echo of a past love interest who had rejected him. This pattern was no coincidence. Bundy's methods were calculated and cold-blooded. He meticulously planned his attacks, leaving little to chance. He would often approach his victims in public places, feigning injury or impersonating authority figures to gain their trust. His ability to manipulate and deceive was chillingly effective. Once alone and vulnerable, the women would fall prey to his charm and seemingly harmless demeanor, only to be subjected to horrific acts of violence. The contrast between his outward appearance and his true nature was stark. As the body count rose, so too did the fear that gripped the Pacific Northwest. Communities were paralyzed with fear, unsure of where or when he would strike next. Young women were warned to be wary of strangers, to travel in groups, to be constantly on guard. The sense of safety and security was shattered. The authorities were under immense pressure to catch the perpetrator of these heinous crimes. But the trail remained frustratingly cold. Despite their best efforts, Bundy remained elusive. Little did they know that the man they sought was not a shadowy figure lurking in the darkness, but a seemingly upstanding member of society, living a double life of horrifying depravity. His ability to blend in was perhaps his most terrifying trait. Ted Bundy's success as a serial killer was due in no small part to his chilling ability to blend in, to appear completely unremarkable. He was, by all accounts, a handsome and charismatic young man, someone who could easily gain the trust of those around him. This carefully cultivated persona served as the perfect mask for his dark desires, allowing him to move undetected among his unsuspecting victims. Bundy would often prey on young women's inherent sense of compassion and willingness to help. He would feign injuries, appearing vulnerable and in need of assistance. Other times he would impersonate authority figures, such as police officers or firefighters, using their inherent authority to disarm his victims. His voice, described by many as soothing and hypnotic, was another weapon in his arsenal, lulling his victims into a false sense of security. He would often engage them in conversation, learning about their lives, their hopes and their dreams, all the while plotting their demise. Once he had gained their trust, Bundy would lure his victims to secluded locations, often using a ruse such as needing help with his car or carrying packages. It was in these isolated settings that his true nature would reveal itself, the mask of normalcy slipping away to expose the monster beneath. The women, once drawn to his charm and charisma, would find themselves trapped, facing a horrifying fate at the hands of a man they believed to be their savior. Section 4. The Chi Omega Sorority House Murders, a Night of Horror. The year 1978 marked a turning point in Ted Bundy's reign of terror, a year that would forever be remembered for its chilling events. In the early hours of January 15th, he unleashed a night of unimaginable violence upon the Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State University, forever etching his name into the annals of criminal history. The tranquility of the night was shattered by his heinous acts. This brutal attack, characterized by its sheer brutality and seemingly random nature, sent shockwaves through the nation, shattering any lingering doubts about the depths of Bundy's depravity. The nation watched in horror as details of the crime emerged. Under the cover of darkness, Bundy entered the sorority house, armed with a piece of oak firewood and a thirst for blood. His presence went unnoticed until it was too late. He attacked 4 young women in their sleep, bludgeoning them with the firewood and leaving them for dead. The violence was swift and merciless. 2 of the women, Margaret Bowman and Lisa Levy, succumbed to their injuries, their lives tragically cut short by a senseless act of violence. Their deaths left a void that could never be filled. The brutality of the Chi Omega murders shocked even seasoned investigators. They had never encountered such a level of savagery. The sorority house, a place of sisterhood and camaraderie, was transformed into a scene of unimaginable horror. The sense of safety and security was irrevocably broken. The attack was not merely about satisfying a lust for blood. It was a calculated assault on innocence, a testament to Bundy's complete disregard for human life. His actions were a dark reflection of his twisted psyche. The Chi Omega murders marked a turning point in the hunt for Ted Bundy. The urgency to capture him grew exponentially. The national spotlight intensified, and law enforcement agencies across the country were now working tirelessly to apprehend the man responsible for this gruesome crime. The pressure was mounting with each passing day. Bundy, once a phantom, was now the target of a nationwide manhunt. His days of freedom numbered. The net was closing in on one of America's most notorious serial killers. Section 5. Escapes and Recapture: A Nation on Edge. Ted Bundy's ability to evade capture for so long only added to his mystique and the public's fascination with his case. His charm and intelligence made him an enigma, a figure both feared and oddly admired by some. He became a phantom, a boogeyman who seemed to disappear into thin air, only to resurface in another state, leaving a trail of violence and despair in his wake. His movements were unpredictable, making him a constant threat and a source of anxiety for communities across the country. His 2 daring escapes from custody further cemented his image as a cunning and resourceful predator, capable of outwitting even the most seasoned law enforcement officials. These escapes were not just acts of desperation, but carefully planned maneuvers that showcased his ability to manipulate and deceive. Bundy's first escape, in June of 1977, took place in Colorado, where he was awaiting trial for the murder of a young nurse. The audacity of his escape plan left authorities and the public in shock. During a court appearance, Bundy, acting as his own attorney, was granted access to the law library, ostensibly to research his case. This privilege was a testament to his manipulative skills, convincing the court of his need for legal resources. However, this seemingly innocuous request was merely a ruse, a calculated move to engineer his escape. Bundy had meticulously planned every detail, exploiting the trust placed in him. Exploiting a lapse in security, Bundy managed to slip out of the courthouse, disappearing into the surrounding mountains. His knowledge of the terrain and his physical fitness played crucial roles in his temporary freedom. His escape sparked a nationwide manhunt, with authorities scouring the countryside, desperate to recapture the elusive killer. The search was intense, involving multiple law enforcement agencies and volunteers. Bundy remained at large for 6 days, his whereabouts unknown before being apprehended by a highway patrol officer. His capture was a relief, but the fear he instilled lingered. His second escape, in December of 1977, was even more audacious. This time, Bundy had learned from his previous experience and was even more determined to succeed. Having been transferred to a jail in Aspen, Colorado, Bundy, ever the meticulous planner, had spent weeks studying the layout of the facility, identifying weaknesses in its security. His attention to detail was astonishing, as he noted every possible escape route. On the night of his escape, Bundy, who had lost a significant amount of weight, managed to squeeze through a narrow gap in the ceiling of his cell, making his way into the crawl space above. His physical transformation was part of his elaborate plan. From there, he dropped into the jailer's apartment, which was conveniently empty, and made his escape into the night. The timing and execution of his plan were flawless, leaving authorities baffled. Bundy's second escape sent shockwaves through the nation, highlighting the failures of law enforcement and fueling the public's growing fear. The media coverage was relentless, keeping the public on edge. He remained at large for over a month, his whereabouts unknown until his capture in Florida, where his reign of terror would finally come to an end. His final capture brought a sense of closure, but the scars of his actions remained.